charismatic and ever-ebullient professional Shaun Murphy is sending shockwaves through the sport as he readies himself for the World Championship, known equally for his accuracy on the table as his sharpness of strategic thought. And comments recently from the man himself have set tongues alight among fans and competitors alike. As he prepares to go toe-to-toe with the best in the sport's showpiece event of the snooker calendar, Murphy has fired a stark warning to his rivals, a declaration that he is a force to be reckoned with. Speaking candidly to Basketball Insiders recently, Murphy himself confessed to all that he was going through, from his transformation of a month ago to what mental and physical readjustments it had taken him so as to lift up his game to the new heights he wants for himself. "I work harder than ever," Murphy let out during that candid talk where humility rang in almost every part of his tone, coupled with steely determination. "This is a year of discovering more things within myself, how far beyond them I can really go." It has not been an easy ride for Murphy, known as the Magician for his uncanny ability to conjure brilliance from situations that would defeat other players. He has had his share of ups and downs. In recent years, he has struggled for consistency, leading to questions about whether he could still compete with the likes of Judd Trump, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Mark Selby. But those doubts now seem a distant memory, as Murphy's recent performances have shown a player revitalized and ready to reclaim his place at the top. He now looked back on a journey that had brought him to this decisive moment, reflected on a fresh wave of intensive fitness and mental training. "I've always felt snooker was as much a mental game as physical," he said. "The table doesn't care about your reputation or your past glories. It's about who can handle the pressure at the moment. That's what I've been training for."
And with this red, it certainly should be. He's been the best player all week, Cal.
He has, and that's the important one. And Corin will reflect on a few missed chances. He put up a great fight. And there's a bit of emotion. We were waiting for it. The fist pump. What a wonderful championship. What a wonderful match we've been treated to tonight, John, in the final.
Thoroughly deserved.
93.
Best player all week. Come on, knock it in. And you get a standing ovation. Absolutely brilliant. Well played, Shaun Murphy. That's the way to get over the line. Wonderful century break. Kyron Wilson gives him his congratulations. We get the fist pump, and it's thoroughly deserved. He's been the best player all week. Magnificent. Maximum included this week. And what a way to get over the line. That was absolute quality from Shaun Murphy, the 2025 Masters champion. Well played. You were brilliant all week.
Recent performances have vindicated such claims, with Murphy in scintillating form of late, with many career-best performances reminding people of his skill and flair that won him the World Championship in 2005. His more attacking game, coupled with an improved safety game, has made him an opponent feared by his peers. Critics have noticed he now appears more composed and confident, which could prove vital in the high-stakes matches at the Crucible Theater. But what perhaps was most striking of Murphy's resurgence was the poise with which he handled his setbacks and used them as fuel for self-improvement. He referred to one such disheartening loss that earlier this season finally put him at a juncture where something clicked. The defeat was so bitter to take in, it really put some things into perspective. What I did have to do. It was a wake-up call. Since then, he's been on a mission to silence his critics, to prove to himself that he still belongs among the sport's elite. Murphy's warning to his rivals is not just empty bravado. He's backed it up with hours of practice, fine-tuning every aspect of his game. His long potting, a hallmark of his playing style, has been particularly sharp in recent tournaments, and his tactical acumen has reached new heights. As he prepares to face the best players in the world, Murphy's confidence is infectious. "I know what I'm capable of," he said. "I'm not here to make up the numbers, I'm here to win." It's the ultimate test for any snooker player a marathon that requires great skill, stamina, and no small amount of mental toughness. For Murphy, it's the opportunity to add another chapter to his already storied career. "Walking out at the Crucible is always special," he said. It's the dream of every snooker player to lift that trophy, and I'm no different. But this year feels different. I've never felt more ready. The more the big tournament approaches, the more buzz there is around Murphy. Fans have been having their say on social media in recent times, with many tipping him as a dark horse for the title. His fellow players have also acknowledged his resurgence, with some admitting they now see him as a serious threat. "Shaun's playing some incredible snooker right now," said one top player. "He's definitely someone to watch." Murphy's path to the World Championship is a testament to the power of resilience and self-belief. A story of a player who just refused to give up, even when it seemed the world was against him. He will go on to snooker's biggest stage with a renewed sense of purpose and warning to anyone underestimating him. "I'm ready to shock the world."
And in the end, he nearly caught me, he nearly got level. And you think about little twists and turns like that, that fourth frame was, yeah, as you say, it was huge, massive.
But, by the way, he played fantastic from start to finish. The whole tournament was a complete joy to watch.
Thank you.
You know, the cubal control, the maximum, everything. But you come in here your first match with Wilson, you was 4-0 up, played fantastic. And then it went 4-3. And you said in here, because we were talking about winning tournaments, you said you got under pressure. You thought you felt a bit under pressure. And then on your matches, especially in the final, you seemed to stay down even more on the shot. Was that a conscious thing to live what was going on?
Totally. You know, it's very easy to get distracted out there. It's very easy to start worrying about where the cue ball's going, what's happening over here. You know, I would be a bit of a tinkerer with my technique. I'd always be trying a different grip or a different action or a different bridge length or so. So to give myself something just to focus on doing that, and it has so many added benefits staying down till the ball's gone in. Yeah, I mean, it's the first week I've tried it, and it's worked.
Not bad. The great Steve Davis used to do that.
How much of a help has Peter been? Because obviously I see you on the practice table in York, and you're not just hitting balls, you play a shot and you chat and you kind of do stuff like, well, we all know what a great competitor Peter was, so, I mean...
I said in York that, you know, I thought I'd gone a bit soft. And that was, you know, that was through chats with Peter. You know, Peter was an
The stage is set. The stakes can't be any higher, and Shaun Murphy's ready to take center stage and make his move. Win or not, one thing is for sure. The magician is back, and he is dazzling.
And where's your mental health at the moment? Because a couple of years ago, you know, you were quite honest about how you were feeling. Where are you now?
Yeah, I'm okay at the moment. I'm seeming to manage it a little bit better at the moment. I was speaking to a doctor for about 6 months to a year. Dr. Lanka from London actually, and he sort of told me how to sort of control it a little bit more. The way he explained it is though it's like losing a loved one, you know. He said you'll never get over it, but you sort of learn to deal with it a bit better. And before, the position I was in, it was all new to me, you know. I didn't know, it just hit me from nowhere. I mean, he said, I explained to him all the stuff I'd gone through in my past, and he said I'd been suffering for a while and not known, you know. I was waking up, I was just thinking like, people have...
In the high-stakes world of professional snooker, it's not just about what happens on the table. It's the mental battles behind the scenes that often go unseen. Ronnie O'Sullivan, a legend of the game, has recently spoken out about the intense pressure players face, revealing his own struggles with mental health. After pulling out of the Masters, O'Sullivan opened up about reaching his breaking point, even snapping his cue in a moment of raw frustration. His bold call for better support for players is shining a light on the unseen side of this demanding sport. O'Sullivan, a 7-time world champion and arguably the most talented and accomplished player to ever grace the sport, revealed that he had reached a low point just before the Masters. He admitted that his frustration had boiled over to the extent that he snapped his cue in a moment of intense emotion. His withdrawal from the tournament followed soon after, as O'Sullivan took a much-needed break from the game. In the wake of this, he called on the governing body of snooker, World Snooker, to do more to support players in terms of mental health. "I believe World Snooker should have dedicated support," O'Sullivan said. "In football, they have masseuses and professionals addressing injuries. I think snooker should have someone at tournaments whose job is to check in with players." His call for action was simple but impactful. Players need someone to talk to, someone to check in on their mental state during the demanding tournament schedule. O'Sullivan pointed out that many players suffer in silence, struggling with the immense pressure, but lacking the resources to address their emotional or psychological needs. He continued, "If someone is struggling after coming off the table, they could ask, 'Do you need 10 minutes to talk with someone?' I'm not saying everyone would use it, but I believe a lot of players are suffering in silence. These words speak to a much-needed awareness of the mental challenges snooker players face. Challenges that can sometimes be invisible to fans and even other professionals. O'Sullivan has long been a figure who has not shied away from speaking his mind, and his remarks have sparked both appreciation and contemplation in the snooker world. In response to O'Sullivan's call for greater mental health support, Jason Ferguson, chairman of the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association, issued a statement addressing the issue. Ferguson commended O'Sullivan for bringing the topic of mental health to the forefront of the conversation, but also clarified that the WPBSA already offers a variety of support systems for players dealing with such challenges. I thought both Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Selby spoke incredibly well, Ferguson said. He acknowledged that snooker is a solitary sport, one that often isolates players due to the individual nature of the game. Players are required to travel extensively, spending large amounts of time away from home, which can understandably affect their mental health. It's not just about performance on the table, it's also about what's happening off the table, Ferguson continued. These players spend a significant amount of time away from home, which can take a toll. There are many challenges players face, and it's something we take very seriously. Ferguson outlined the various systems the WPBSA has in place to support players, including confidential hotlines and player services that are available to provide professional guidance when needed. Moreover, the WPBSA has established the Athletes Commission, which is designed to represent the players' concerns and offer them direct support. The commission, called WPBSA Players, is chaired by Shaun Murphy, a fellow professional player, which ensures that it remains a player-driven body focused on the needs and well-being of the athletes. The commission is also funded to provide the necessary resources and services for players to access professional support when required. While these services may be in place, O'Sullivan's call to action remains relevant. The fact that even one of the most successful and beloved players in snooker history can reach such a breaking point highlights the need for an ongoing conversation about mental health in the sport. The stigma surrounding mental health is still present in many areas of life, and sports like snooker are no exception. It's clear that more can always be done to make players feel supported, whether that's through more visible resources at events or encouraging a culture where mental health is prioritized as much as physical health. To understand why O'Sullivan's remarks have such weight, one must look at his incredible career and the pressures that come with it. Known as the Rocket for his explosive play style and speed, O'Sullivan has been a dominating force in the world of snooker for over 3 decades. His journey has been filled with both extraordinary triumphs and personal struggles, making him one of the most complex and fascinating figures in sport. His unmatched skill has earned him 7 World Championship titles, an unprecedented 38 ranking titles, and a staggering 1,000 century breaks. However, his career has also been marked by periods of controversy, self-doubt, and public clashes with the media, the sport's governing bodies, and even his own mental state. O'Sullivan's struggles with mental health have been well documented over the years. In his earlier career, he was known for his erratic behavior and, at times, his volatile relationship with the sport. Yet, his openness about his battles with depression, anxiety, and the pressure of high expectations has made him a relatable figure for many. O'Sullivan has, at various points, taken breaks from the game to focus on his mental well-being, much to the frustration of fans and the media. Despite this, he has always returned, showcasing an unparalleled ability to perform at the highest level. Throughout his career, O'Sullivan has become not just a snooker player, but a symbol of resilience, someone who has faced the very real challenges of mental health while constantly battling to stay at the top of his game. His vulnerability in addressing his own struggles helps to break down barriers for others in the sport and beyond, showing that even the most successful athletes are not immune to mental health challenges.
In conclusion, while the WPBSA has taken steps to address mental health issues in snooker, Ronnie O'Sullivan's powerful words remind us that there is always room for improvement. The mental health of athletes should be a priority, and the snooker world must continue to evolve in providing support that matches the physical care players receive. O'Sullivan's transparency and leadership in this matter show that just as players rely on their skills on the table, they must also have the support to ensure their well-being off the table.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, widely regarded as one of the greatest snooker players of all time, has recently made headlines for reasons that extend far beyond his prowess on the green baize. O'Sullivan has withdrawn from the Masters tournament on medical grounds mere hours after revealing in an interview with The Telegraph that taking up snooker was the worst life choice he ever made. This startling admission, along with his sudden withdrawal from the prestigious tournament, has shocked the snooker world and beyond. O'Sullivan, aged 49, was set to begin his campaign for a record-extending 9th Masters title at Alexandra Palace on Sunday. His withdrawal comes as a significant blow to the tournament, given his status as the defending champion. The announcement is particularly poignant as it follows closely on the heels of O'Sullivan pulling out of his final Championship League group game just a day earlier. In his revealing interview with The Telegraph, O'Sullivan laid bare his conflicted feelings about his illustrious career in snooker. He said, "In some ways, I wish I had a different job. I'm fortunate in many ways because it's been good to me, but I wish I'd been good at something else." These words, coming from a player who has dominated the sport for decades and earned more than 14 million pounds in prize money, paint a sad picture of a man at odds with his own success. O'Sullivan's revelation comes as a stark contrast to the image of the confident, sometimes brash player that fans have come to know over the years. He expressed a desire for a more intellectually stimulating career path, stating he would have preferred something more educational, maybe a scientist or something more interesting. This longing for a different life path raises profound questions about the nature of success and personal fulfillment in professional sports. The 7-time world champion went further, dismissing snooker as more of an entertainment, more of a brutality sport. He specifically mentioned wanting a life similar to that of sports psychiatrist Steve Peters, or to inspire people in a different way, like helping to cure cancer. These statements reveal a deep-seated desire for a career with what O'Sullivan perceives as more meaningful impact. O'Sullivan's comments shed light on the often overlooked downsides of professional snooker. The solitary nature of the sport emerges as a significant drawback. "It's too much time on your own," O'Sullivan explained. "I'd rather do something where you're trying to cure something and you've got a team of people." This insight into the psychological challenges of individual sports highlights the mental fortitude required to excel at the highest levels. The champion elaborated on the psychological toll of competing alone. He said, "I found just being on my own. It's quite hard because you've got to motivate yourself. You've got to push yourself. You've got to figure out all the answers yourself." O'Sullivan's preference for team environments becomes clear as he adds, "If I was in a team environment, I think I'd have enjoyed that camaraderie." Perhaps the most heart-wrenching part of O'Sullivan's interview was his admission of past drug and alcohol abuse. In a confession, he revealed his biggest regret: going out, drinking, partying, and taking Class A drugs.
Process of kind of getting well, if you like, was to try and find a higher power. A lot of people went to religion. I thought, I'm not really down with rules, you know, I'm not good with rules. So I thought, anyone telling me that I've got to do this and do that and do this and do that, I was like, you know, but I tried it and I can see why people like it, and it can work. It can work for some people. It can work for some people, but it just wasn't going to work for me. So Buddhism was kind of like I don't know, it was something that I thought maybe kind of could give me some structure, give me some peace, because I needed a bit of peace of mind, you know, within this snooker depression, within this sport that I really think is a tough sport, what it is for me, some people it might not be. I need to find that little bit of inner peace, you know, that place where I can take myself to and just kind of like feel all right about myself, you know, whether I play well or not. If I can take myself to that place where I think, you know, life's okay, then I'm able to probably cope with the demands of snooker. So Buddhism was a good one for me, because it allowed me to just try and just find that contentment without handing my life over to this higher power that already had the plan made, you know. So for me, when I looked at like a God in a way, I kind of thought, if he's already made the decisions, what's the point of me putting in the effort? And I mean, I could try really hard all day, and yet he's already made the decision. And that really bothered me. But with Buddhism, there was none of that. It was just like you just find your own peace, your own rhythm, and kind of like you still have an element of control of what the outcome can be. You know, I never like to feel like that I have no control out of the outcome of any situation. So Buddhism worked really well for me, and I still kind of hold on to some of them teachings, you know, because sometimes...
What was the main teachings you got from it?
I think what it was just about...
He further added, "At that point in my life, I wasn't happy, and I was doing that to try to be happy. It got hold of me, rather than me being in control of it, and that felt like a shit place to be." This honesty about his struggles with substance abuse provides context for some of the erratic behavior fans have witnessed over the years. While O'Sullivan found recovery and achieved sobriety, he acknowledged that he still drinks occasionally. In his words, he said, "I'm not clean and sober now, though. I still have a good drink and this and that, but I know not to get too involved." O'Sullivan's recent withdrawal from the Masters tournament is not an isolated incident. It follows his pulling out of his final Championship League group game just a day earlier. These withdrawals, along with visible frustration during recent performances, paint a picture of a player struggling with the pressures of the sport. During a recent Championship League match where he lost 3-2 to Robert Milkins, O'Sullivan was seen hammering his cue against the table after missing an easy pink. He later disposed of the same cue in a bin, though officials later retrieved it. These actions, while not uncommon in the heat of competition, take on new significance in light of O'Sullivan's recent statements. O'Sullivan's complicated relationship with fame adds another layer to his struggles. He expressed discomfort with public attention and celebrity encounters, stating, "I don't really like people, to be honest, let alone celebrities. I'm not a lover of people, so I try and steer clear of them." His struggles with fan interactions are particularly telling. O'Sullivan described the hardest part of being famous as making small talk, saying he disliked fans with silly, childish, idiotic grins on their faces. He bluntly stated, "I don't mind if people talk to me, but when they've got those stupid grins, then they can fuck off." Despite his current struggles and misgivings about his career choice, O'Sullivan's achievements in snooker are undeniable. He is a 7-time world champion and has earned more than £14 million in prize money throughout his career. His 8 Masters titles stand as evidence of his dominance in the sport. One of the most significant positive influences in O'Sullivan's career has been sports psychologist Steve Peters. O'Sullivan credits Peters with rekindling his interest in snooker after he had enough of playing. The key advice from Peters that resonated with O'Sullivan was, "Life is fickle. Don't get bogged down with it." This counsel helped O'Sullivan navigate the emotional highs and lows of his career. O'Sullivan described his work with Peters as transformative. He explained, "I'd kind of given up on everything at the time. I'd had enough of playing snooker, but when I met Steve, he got my interest going again. At the time, everyone else was just saying, 'Be positive, and I was fed up with hearing the word positive. Then Steve said, "I'm not going to tell you to be positive because that doesn't work," which intrigued me and made me think there's a science to it, and I'm quite science-based. This approach resonated with O'Sullivan, who added, "I'm not one to leave it up to the gods. I believe that if you get the recipe right, it's going to be good, and that's what I bought into with Steve." The key ingredient for O'Sullivan was understanding that he was being hijacked by one part of my brain. He learned to deal with this and not be controlled by his emotions, which had previously led to self-sabotage. O'Sullivan's relationship with snooker began in his childhood, with fond memories of playing at Pontins in Hemsby, Great Yarmouth, as an 8-year-old. He recalls, "I used to love just hanging out in the arcades with all my mates, being naughty, misbehaving, playing snooker, going to bed late and being around loads of snooker people. I loved snooker at once, even though I was pretty average at first. It was only when I got to about 12 I thought, I'm actually not that bad at this game." However, these early experiences weren't all positive. O'Sullivan also recounted getting banned from Pontins for misbehavior. He described an incident where he threw a glass of Coke at a friend, which ended up hitting an old granny's face. "I was bang in trouble, so from that moment on, I had to learn to behave," he said. Despite these early mishaps, snooker clubs became a refuge for O'Sullivan. He described them as his church, saying, "It was my place of safety and peace. It wasn't just the game, it was the people and the environment, especially Orford Snooker Club in Walthamstow. It was more like a home to me than anywhere I've ever been. I used to spend all my life down there. I'd eat down there. I'd play down there. I'd go to the gym next door. It was everything to me. O'Sullivan's career has been marked by numerous highs, including his victory in the 2012 World Championship. He describes this as the best day of his life, saying, "When I won the World Championships in 2012 and my son, little Ronnie, who was about 4 or 5 at the time, was there, I had 2 really bad years, and I felt like I'd been written off, and then I started working with the sports psychologist Steve Peters. I was playing well, but I just wasn't getting any results, and I thought, what's going on here? Normally, if I play well, I win a lot, but because I hadn't done anything for 2 years, it felt like karma. You have to earn the respect of the game again, but I didn't know that at the time. At that moment, I thought, maybe I'm done. Then everything came together, and I won the tournament, and having my son there to witness it made it even more special." Another career highlight for O'Sullivan was winning the 2014 Welsh Open. He describes this as his best moment on a snooker table, saying, "I played really well from start to finish in that tournament and finished off with 147 against Ding Junhui. I was playing great. I was in my prime. Everything felt good. The game felt easy. I didn't realize how easy it was until you start to struggle, and then you think, God, it's actually a hard game. But at the time, it felt really easy. I just felt like I could do anything." As O'Sullivan struggles with his feelings about his career, speculation about his future in the sport is rife. Fellow player Judd Trump believes O'Sullivan won't be seen many more times in the wake of his shock Masters withdrawal. Trump stated, "He's someone, from what I can tell, he probably wants to have one big last hurrah and get out of here. To be honest, it could be any point where one more world championship and he calls it a day.